Thank you for this opportunity. I love you so much. So my whole life I've been very fascinated with what I call spiritual masters, people who have mastered vibration and feel unconditional love and alignment and are able to be catalysts to express knowledge of source and of life.
It's nice to see anyone demonstrating the receptive mode.
Right.
You see it in sports all the time.
Yeah.
You see it in music all the time, right. In all walks of life.
Yeah, I love it. So I've been very interested specifically in Eastern philosophies and ways of life. People who I consider spiritual masters, the Buddha, Jesus, Dalai Lama, even more modern people today like Eckhart Tolle, Sadhguru. I'm sure you're familiar with all these people. They're humans, right? Can I just be, like, they're not aliens. People like the Buddha, people, for instance, I've been very fascinated by this saint in India called Neem Karoli Baba, who was able to read people's minds and influence people to open up their hearts and to live such pure lives, people like Ram Dass and all these other spiritual teachers of our time. So my question is, what is it that they have done or are doing that makes them so special or able to be these catalysts of unconditional love?
It's the consistency of the receptive mode.
So just being in the vortex all the time.
Well, not all the time.
Right, because they have to live out contrast.
Not one of them. They all have step 5 moments. Step 5, you know what we're talking about there? Step 1 is where contrast causes you to ask. Step 2 is you've launched this asking into this vortex and source has answered it. So it's vibrationally already been given. Step 3 is you tune your frequency to the frequency of your vortex so that it can move seamlessly from the vibrational realm into your see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it realm. And step 4 is just mastery of that. Step 4 is being so good at that you know when you're on and you know when you're not. It doesn't mean you're always on, but it does mean you know when you're on and you know when you're not. And then step 5 is having mastered it and now no longer being mad at yourself when you're back in step 1, because that's the trip up for most of you. In other words, that's when most masters lose their steadiness because they are frustrated with themselves that they are not able to maintain it more. So they are nicer to themselves. They are living a compassion about self. They are allowing themselves the benefit of movement within the energies. And so we would like to say that they understand the energies more. So it's the consistency, it's the momentum of it, and it's the ease with which they can move into that.
So because they're in that place, they're able to receive and download infinite intelligence in an effortless way, pretty much?
Yes, and so it's just a natural life experience.
We can all do that too, correct?
Everyone, without exception.
I feel like a lot of people don't. There was one Buddha, there was one Jesus.
Well, you could call it the power of desire. You could call it, in some cases, momentum coming in. Strong intention for that coming in. You could call it discipline. While we don't like that word much, but willingness to feel good and a discipline that says I'm not willing to spend long periods of time where I don't belong. Someone said to Esther the other day, as she was in the receptive mode, not this one but this one, you don't cope with negative crap very well, do you? Esther said, I can't cope at all. I've lost all my coping skills with negative emotion. I cannot cope with negative stuff. I can't cope with it anymore. I belong here. And when I'm not here, I'm really miserable. And that's mastery. That's mastery. That's reaching that place where you cannot bear it unless you are here. And then you're willing to do whatever it takes, even if it means be irrationally happy.
Have no friends.
You certainly can't hang around with those friends.
Yeah.
Law of attraction won't put you there anymore.
Yeah. So Neem Karoli Baba, for instance, my mother and I, who's here, we've been watching documentaries about him. I've been really fascinated with this saint. We were walking the other day for my birthday downtown, and we walked past this bookstore, and we had an impulse to go into this bookstore, and we look right on the counter. I looked on the counter, and right there was a book about Neem Karoli Baba that just got brought in that day. It was a used bookstore. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's awesome. Like,
Like our friend was talking about, timing. Whatever's active in your vibration, the universe is saying, here you go,
right.
here you go, here you go. But that's happening to you all the time and to everyone else all the time. But the most important thing to focus upon here is that you were in the receptive mode of it. And so that idea turned to a thing immediately, as will all ideas turn to things immediately when you hang around in that receptive mode.
So I want to be one of these people. I want to be able to.
It would be better for you to say, I am.
I am, right. Yeah. I believe that.
And then really mean it, and don't make a big deal when you're having a step 5 moment.
I think I'm doing pretty good.
The most significant thing that we want to give to you, those who find alignment are advantageous because they help you to know that it is a possible human trait. The disadvantage is that you sometimes compare where they are after a lot of momentum of alignment and where you may be as you are finding your place within it.
Right.
That is disadvantageous to you. And so appreciate your own sainthood or your own God force when you see it. The thing about so much of what you hear that others have lived is that a few hundred years from now, the story that our friend told us about his experience with his son, a few hundred years from now, the story will be told like this. My son was on his way to be anointed a very important award, and he was prepared for it. And as he traveled without a vehicle, floating across the sky in his jet body, he realized that he didn't have with him something, and so he held a thought, and it appeared in his hand in that moment. That's the way they'll tell the story.
Yeah, totally.
And you all will say, I can't do that. But if you could go back to what really happened, his dad brought it to him. Because they were both in the zone, because they were both in the vortex, because they were both in the receiving mode, and the magnificent law of attraction and all of the energy that creates worlds accommodated, you see. So you've got to experience your own miraculous. This is a modern day miracle. And these things are happening to you all day, every day, as the cooperative universe is bringing the components to you, you see. But when you compare it with stuff of other times and other languages that's been translated, and we are not for a moment suggesting that you shouldn't enjoy everything that you're reading. We're just saying your own connection to source energy is where your worthiness will come from. And that is the component that all of them came to understand. It's that feeling of worthiness, and you will not feel your own worthiness until the universe yields to you, till you've got your hands in the clay, until you watch something unfold in a magnificent way for you, until you felt the impulse, until you remember that little desire that grew into a bigger one, and then you remember that moment of the receptive mode, and you felt that thrill of it, and then you watched yourself slip from it, but you brought yourself back there deliberately until you knew you owned that vibration about that, and then you watched the universe yielding to you impulses and step by step until it unfolded, and then you revel in the full receiving of it, and you feel this sense of worthiness and at oneness and wholeness with all that is. That's how you accomplish that mastery. You don't accomplish it by reading what others have done, where you can't feel the worthiness, the personal worthiness. When you read about other masters, you accept their worthiness, but it doesn't help yours. You have to let the universe yield to you. That was really good.
Yeah.